I am the owner of Sugoi Koi and Sugoi Goldfish. I've been breeding fish for many, many years, and I don't just breed the garbage you find at the average pet shop. I strive for genetic superiority. I can't help it, it's my German side. So I saw this video on YouTube, and I thought it would be perfect to react to it. Obviously, I'm gonna give my input as an actual fish farmer who's been through the trials and tribulations of the industry. I'm not just gonna sit here going, because that's incompetent.
A high-quality Ranchu goldfish can sell for up to $400.
It's actually Ranchu, but that's just me being pretentious. Ranchu is fine.
Tank, female goldfish can lay up to 1,000 eggs at one time, and they can do so even multiple times a week. So
that's actually true. I have female Ryukin that I breed, and like a week or so later, they breed again. But then a couple of weeks down the line, they didn't want to breed, and a couple of weeks down the line, they still didn't want to breed. So don't expect like they're just going to breed every single week.
If you start with a lower quality Ranchu, which sell for somewhere between $10 or $50 each, you can still make some serious cash doing this as a side business.
Even a low quality animal is going to produce lots of babies that you could just sell off. This irks me a lot because it sounds like a money-making scheme. My advice is buy quality animals because, yes, a lot of the babies are going to be rejects. Don't get me wrong. But if you have high-end parents, there's going to be a better chance of getting high-end offspring. A high-quality ranchu, you could sell that one fish for a lot more money than a bunch of little garbage fish.
Now, this business does require a little bit of an investment.
A lot of an investment. It's not little.
There aren't a ton of people doing it, which gives you a very nice little market that you can enter into without a ton of competition and make a pretty nice living.
I suppose it's true that not a lot of people are doing it, but there is a lot of people that are doing it wrong. They breed genetically inferior animals. They don't care about the quality of life of the animal. The vast majority of fish breeders, especially in South Africa, Tom, Dick, and Harry's, they just want to make money. And that kind of pisses me off. Living animals are not a toy. If you want more of it, you better take responsibility. Make sure that their living conditions allows them to be happy and healthy. And when they have a genetic issue that is going to affect their quality of life, I'm a very firm believer that if you want to breed animals, you also have to be willing to euthanize those animals when the situation calls for it. For example, if there's an animal that's just suffering and it needs to be put out of its misery. Yeah, you can call a vet. Take a couple of hours for them to reach your premises and that animal is suffering now.
So here's how it all works. The first thing you need, of course, is a tank. You need a tank that's a minimum of 20 gallons.
20 gallons for a single goldfish is barely fine. You're not going to be able to keep a breeding pair in 20 gallons, which is about 75 liters. All right, you need about 100 liters per goldfish in order to give them the space to grow correctly. Obviously, if it's an adult fish, it basically stopped growing, though carp have indeterminate growth. After a certain point, they just grow much slower. So if it's already an adult and you look after the water and the filtration really well, and they have reasonable space, maybe 20 gallons for one fish would be enough. But if you want to raise breeders and you want to have a pair at the very least, 20 gallons is way too little.
20 gallons. It would be better if it's more if you can afford it. But I'll give you a cheaper option in just a minute, so don't be turned off by the price of tanks.
If you are going to be turned off from the price of tanks, like, here's the thing. Goldfish breeding is not the cheapest thing. If you are tight on cash, yes, there's cheap ways to start. I don't want to discourage you if this is going to be your passion, but it's going to require money. If you are really strapped for cash, I would recommend do something else, build up more money before you just start breeding goldfish.
Make sure that it's a wide container, a wide tank rather than tall. You may think that taller tanks look cooler or maybe they take up less space, but at the end of the day, they put too much water pressure on the goldfish and can hurt their health. And
Like, yes, of course, if you go kilometers down deep into the ocean, yeah, there's going to be pressure there, but a little goldfish tank in your house, like, that is not nearly going to ever create enough pressure. The reason why you want a tank that is as long and broad as possible is so that there's more surface area to the water, so that you don't have to worry about oxygen that much when the power goes out. That's the main thing. Obviously, you got to have oxygen in your tank. If you live in a garbage dump like South Africa, there's going to be a lot of power cuts. And that's where a broad and wide tank becomes useful. And if I hear somebody saying that, oh, I could just add plants to add oxygen to my tank, forget about plants. Get an aeration. Get an aerator. Air pump, air stone.
extremely cheap way that you can start out, and that's just using a big plastic tote. You can
So these totes do work. Tubs, like, everyone calls them different things. Like, I'm always like raking my brain when I go to a store in this country and I'm trying to figure out, all right, what do you call this? Because I've called it a crate and they don't know what I mean, and I've called it a tub and I think sometimes they know what I mean. It's crazy. So these things do work. However, please don't get a black one and put it outside because it's going to cook your fish. Make sure that they have plenty of shade. And another thing is these tubs are notoriously weak. After they've been outside for a while, they start to burst. Like, they're not meant to contain water indefinitely.
there. And in reality, it might actually give them more room to play around in than you could afford otherwise if you decided to go with a glass tank. Now, if you
Something I am a big proponent of is giving an animal the mental and physical stimulation that it needs. One of the reasons why lions in captivity live much longer, better lives in good zoos, by the way, obviously not the idiot zoos that just keep them in a cement box their entire life, but in good zoos, the lions can live double their life expectancy than in the wild because of how well they're taken care of. Mental and physical stimulation for your animals is very important. But of course, with goldfish, there's not much going on, so you don't have to worry about it that much. But if you want to put a little stream in your tank, the goldfish do like to play in it sometimes, so that's something worth considering.
do decide to go with a tank for your first fish, I would still recommend buying one of these totes, because once your parent fish start having little babies, you're going to want a separate place to hold the little ones until you can sell them.
So yeah, you definitely want to separate the offspring. Goldfish are omnivorous. I once saw a YouTuber say that, oh no, they're predominantly herbivorous. No. I looked at a scientific study that basically concluded, funny how they had to do a scientific study to find this out, goldfish prefer food that moves. Ergo, live food, protein. They are omnivorous, they prefer protein. And so they will chow each other. I would recommend, when you do have your babies and they are separate from the parents, after they start developing a little bit more, I would split them up even further in separate tubs just to mitigate some of that cannibalism.
Will need to invest in a filter. You have to keep the water clean.
Highly true.
A cheaper filter means that you'll have to change the water more frequently and clean the tank more frequently, probably once a week, maybe once a month if it's a nice enough filter and the tank doesn't get too dirty and you don't have too many fish in there. But once I upgraded to like a really, really nice filter, I only have to clean my tank like once every 6 months.
So, very rarely do you get amazing filters that barely has to be cleaned. From my personal experience, I don't care if your filter is made out of solid gold, it's cleaned once a week. And also, minimum 10% water change 3 times a week. You can do more than that, but that is the absolute minimum.
Just to be clear, I always try to be super transparent in all of these business ideas. I don't want to make them sound much easier than they are. This video is just meant to be a basic idea of what it takes to start a business like this.
All right, so at least the guy comes out and says that, yeah, it's to give a basic idea. But I definitely, the first 5 minutes of this video definitely came across as, oh no, yeah, you should do it. It's real easy. I want you to think, why do you want to get into goldfish? Do you want to get into goldfish because you want to make money? Because the thing you're currently doing is not making money. And they struggle to make money, and so they jump on to the next thing. And then when they hit a wall, they jump to the next thing. You are only going to achieve success if you hit a wall, figure out why you hit that wall, get past it. I would definitely think why your current business endeavor isn't making money. When you solve that issue, yeah, of course, try goldfish.
There's plenty of places where you can buy high quality goldfish, but goldfishisland.com is super reputable. I'm not sponsored by them or anything. I've just heard them recommended from really solid goldfish breeders.
They're not terrible, but they're not like show champions. I definitely recommend, if you want to get into goldfish, learn from somebody what to look for in a proper animal. So I definitely recommend, and I tell this to the koi people as well, to the koi hobbyist, learn just enough so that you're not scammed.
One thing though, because the goal is to breed goldfish, you really want to make sure that the ones that you buy are breeding age. From what I understand, between the ages of 2 and 3 years is the optimum breeding time for these fish.
Now for koi, we usually wait about 3 years. Preferably the female at 4 years, and there's a reason we do that. So yes, goldfish can breed much sooner. Goldfish can breed, at about 1.5 years old. But the reason why you want to wait, and this is what separates the idiot backyard breeder from the professional breeder, is that you have to see how the animal continues to develop. Are they growing the muscles they're supposed to? Is the color developing that it's supposed to? Because if you just take an animal, looks good now, you breed it, 2 years down the line, oh, it has cancer, oh, it's losing color, and that's not genetics you want to propagate, really.
And when it comes to breeding, the higher quality fish you invest in for the parents, the more the babies will be worth.
No, he said it. Excellent.
But since you're just starting out, I personally would say you're better off starting out with some less expensive ranchu, because just like any other business out there are going to be some initial mistakes.
So he mentions a very good point here. Start out cheap, which is advice that is good if you are getting into the hobby, not if you are trying to get into breeding. If you want to get into breeding, you should already have paid the money and have gained the experience.
You've got your amazing goldfish, and you've named them something awesome.
My goldfish have names like FGRQX, because I deal with a lot of fish, and I am not naming all of them.
You are ready for business. Now it's just a matter of waiting for the females to have eggs ready to go, and then just go through the whole breeding process, wait for the eggs to hatch, and for these sweet, sweet money-making babies to be born.
Sounds very reminiscent of back when I first got into farming and I started with pigs. As like official farming, because like people don't think koi and goldfish is like real farming work. And yeah, the guy was like, just some guy in the film industry in South Africa, and he had a bunch of pigs. And he was like, I can offer you a special deal. You should just order, like there are so much money to be made in pigs. By the way, I'm selling my pigs. Crazy coincidence. There is no amount of money that can convince me to farm pigs ever again. I've helped people all over South Africa with their fish-related issues. And a question I get fairly often is, what goldfish should I breed? Which is in demand? What will sell? What will make money? And here's my advice for that. Breed something you like and breed something for money. Right? Obviously, we want to make money. We want there to be a reward for our effort. If you're chasing money, breeding animals, you are gonna be sorely mistaken. Money is nice to get in, but it's the passion that's gonna make you last for the long run. If money is your only objective, you're not gonna last.
You want your business to grow with your experience, especially when we're talking about fish or other animals or things with feelings.
A fish's feelings is basically hungry and horny and scared. And they're not really that scared because they're hungry. It's not a very complex animal.